Shape notes are a music notation designed to facilitate congregational and community singing. The notation, introduced in 1801, became a popular teaching device in American singing schools. Shapes were added to the note heads in written music to help singers find pitches within major and minor scales without the use of more complex information found in key signatures on the staff. Shape notes of various kinds have been used for over 2 centuries in a variety of music traditions, mostly sacred but also secular, originating in New England, practiced primarily in the southern region of the United States for many years, and now experiencing a renaissance in other locations as well. Shape notes. The idea behind shape notes is that the parts of a vocal work can be learned more quickly and easily if the music is printed in shapes that match up with the solfege syllables with which the notes of the musical scale are sung. For instance, in the 4-shape tradition used in the sacred harp and elsewhere, the notes of a C major scale are notated and sung as follows. A skilled singer experienced in a shape note tradition has developed a fluent triple mental association, which links a note to the scale, a shape, and a syllable. This association can be used to help in reading the music. When a song is first sung by a shape note group, they normally sing the syllables to solidify their command over the notes. Next, they sing the same notes to the words of the music. The syllables and notes of a shape note system are relative rather than absolute. They depend on the key of the piece. The first note of a major key always has the triangular fa note, followed by sol, la, etc. The first note of a minor key is always la, followed by mi, fa, etc. The first 3 notes of major scale are fa, sol, la or each a tone apart. The 4th to 6th notes are also a tone apart and are also fa, sol, la. The 7th and 8th notes, being separated by a semitone, are indicated mi fa. This means that just 4-shape notes can adequately reflect the feel of the whole scale. 4-shape versus 7-shape systems. The system illustrated above is a 4-shape system. 6 of the notes of the scale are grouped in pairs assigned to one syllable shape combination. The ascending scale using the fa, so, la, fa, so, la, mi, fa syllables represent a variation of the hexachord system introduced by the 11th century monk Guido of Arezzo, who originally introduced a 6-note scale using the syllables ut, re, mi, fa, sol, la. The 4-syllable variation of Guido's original system was prominent in 17th century England, and entered the US in the 18th century. Shortly afterward, shapes were invented to represent the syllables. The other important systems are 7-shape systems, which give a different shape and syllable to every note of the scale. Such systems use as their syllables the note names do, re, mi, fa, so, la, ti, do familiar to most people. A few books present the older 7-note syllabization of do, re, mi, fa, so, la, si, do. In the 7-shape system invented by Jesse B. Aiken, the notes of a C major scale would be notated and sung as follows. There are other 7-shape systems. Effectiveness of shape notes, whether or not shape notes actually facilitate learning music is disputed. A controlled study on the usefulness of shape notes was carried out in the 1950s by George H. Keim with an experimental population consisting of 4th and 5th graders living in California. Keim took care to match his experimental and control groups as closely as possible for ability, quality of teacher, and various other factors. He found that the students taught with shape notes learned to sight read significantly better than those taught without them. Keim additionally found that the students taught with shape notes were also far more likely to pursue musical activities later on in their education. Shape notes and modulation equals. Many forms of music employ modulation, that is, a change of key in mid-piece. Modulation is problematic for shape note systems, since the shapes employed for the original key of the piece no longer match the scale degrees of the new key. At least some forms of shape note music, for instance sacred harp music, generally avoid modulation. Origin and early history. As noted above, the syllables of shape note systems greatly antedate the shapes. The practice of singing music to syllables designating pitch goes back to about AD 1000 with the work of Guido of Arezzo. Other early work in this area includes the cipher notation of Jean-Jacques Rousseau, and the tonic solfa of John Curran. American forerunners to shape notes include the 9th edition of the Bass Psalm Book, and an introduction to the singing of psalm tunes in a plain and easy method by Reverend John Tufts. The 9th edition of the Bass Psalm Book was printed with the initials of 4-note syllables underneath the staff. In his book, Tufts substituted the initials of the 4-note syllables on the staff in place of note heads, and indicated rhythm by punctuation marks to the right of the letters. Shape notes themselves probably date from late 18th century America. They appeared publicly at the beginning of the 19th century, when 2 publications came out using shape note heads: The Easy Instructor by William Little and William Smith in 1801, and the Musical Primer by Andrew Law in 1803, intended for use in singing schools. Little and Smith used the 4-shape system shown above. Law's system had slightly different shapes: a square indicated fa and a triangle la, while sol and mi were the same as in Little and Smith. Law's invention was more radical than Little and Smith's in that he dispensed with the use of the staff altogether, letting the shapes be the sole means of expressing pitch. Little and Smith followed traditional music notation in placing the note heads on the staff, in place of the ordinary oval note heads. In the end, it was the Little-Smith system that won out, and there is no hymn book used today that employs the Law system. Some copies of the Easy Instructor, Part 2 included a statement, on the verso of the title page, in which John Connolly grants permission to Little and Smith to make use in their publications of the shape notes to which he claimed the rights. Little and Smith did not themselves claim credit for the invention, but said instead that the notes were invented around 1790 by John Connolly of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Andrew Law asserted that he was the inventor of shape notes. Shape notes proved popular in America, and quickly a wide variety of hymn books were prepared making use of them. The shapes were eventually extirpated in the northeastern U.S. by a so-called better music movement, headed by Lowell Mason. But in the South, the shapes became well entrenched, and multiplied into a variety of traditions. Ananias Davison's Kentucky Harmony is generally considered the first Southern shape note tune book. Rise of 7-shape systems. By the middle of the 19th century, the fa-sol-la system of 4 syllables had acquired a major rival, namely the 7-syllable do-re-mi system. Thus, music compilers began to add 3 more shapes to their books to match the extra syllables. Numerous 7-shape notations were devised. Jesse B. Aiken was the first to produce a book with a 7-shape note system, and he vigorously defended his invention, and his patent. The system used in Aiken's 1846 Christian Minstrel eventually became the standard. This owes much to the influential Rue Bush and Kiefer Publishing Company adopting Aiken's system around 1876. 2 books that have remained in continuous use, William Walker's Christian Harmony and M. L. Swan's New Harp of Columbia, are still available. These books use 7-shape systems devised by Walker and Swan, respectively. Currently active shape note traditions. Although 7-shape books may not be as popular as in the past, there are still a great number of churches in the American South, in particular Southern Baptist, Primitive Baptists, almost all of the non-instrumental Churches of Christ, and some Free Methodist, as well as United Pentecostal throughout North America, that regularly use 7-shape songbooks in Sunday worship. These songbooks may contain a variety of songs from 18th century classics to 20th century gospel music. Thus today denominational songbooks printed in 7 shapes probably constitute the largest branch of the shape note tradition. In addition, non-denominational community singings are also intermittently held which feature early to mid-20th century 7-shape gospel music such as Stamps Baxter hymnals or Heavenly Highway. In these traditions, the custom of singing the notes is generally preserved only during the learning process at singing schools, and singing may be to an instrumental accompaniment, typically a piano. The 7-shape system is also still used at regular public singings of 19th century songbooks of a similar type to the Sacred Harp, such as the Christian Harmony and the New Harp of Columbia. Such singings are common in Georgia, North Carolina, Tennessee, Mississippi, and Alabama, and generally preserve the singing school custom of singing the notes. The four-shape tradition that currently has the greatest number of participants is sacred harp singing. But there are many other traditions that are still active or even enjoying a resurgence of interest. Among the four-shape systems, the Southern Harmony has remained in continuous use at one singing in Benton, Kentucky, and is now experiencing a small amount of regrowth. The current reawakening of interest in shape note singing has also created new singings using other recently moribund 19th-century four-shape songbooks, such as the Missouri Harmony, as well as new books by modern composers, such as the Northern Harmony. Thomas B. Malone has specialized in the revival of works by Jeremiah Ingalls, and has published a four-shape edition of Ingalls' 1805 The Christian Harmony. Malone organizes an annual mid-July singing in Newbury, Vermont, where Ingalls was a tavern keeper and musician between 1789 and 1810. The seven-shape system is commonly used by the Mennonites and Brethren. Numerous songbooks are printed in shape notes for this market. They include Christian Hymnal, the Christian Hymnary, Zion's Praises, Pilgrim's Praises, the Church Hymnal, Silver Gems in Song and Harmonia Sacra. Nomenclature. Shape notes have also been called character notes and patent notes, respectively, and buckwheat notes and dunce notes, pejoratively. See also, Fuguing Tune, List of shape note tune books, Singing School, Sacred Harp, West Gallery Music. Notes. References. Bibliography. Books Chase, Gilbert, America's Music, From the Pilgrims to the Present. Cobb, L.E.J.R., The Sacred Harp, A Tradition and Its Music, University of Georgia Press. Drummond, R. Paul. A Portion for the Singers, A History of Music Among Primitive Baptists since 1800. Eastburn, Catherine A. Sacred Feast, Reflections on Sacred Harp Singing and Dinner on the Ground. Eskew, Harry and Hugh T. Magrath Sing with Understanding, An Introduction to Christian Hymnology. Horn, Dorothy, Sing to Me of Heaven, A Study of Folk and Early American Materials in 3 Old Harp Books, Gainesville, University of Florida Press. Jackson, George Pullen, White Spirituals in the Southern Uplands. Marini, Stephen R., Sacred Song in America, Religion, Music, and Public Culture, Urbana, University of Illinois Press. Stanislaw, Richard J., A Checklist of Four-Shape Note Tune Books. Hartman, Steve, The Missouri Harmony, or A Choice Collection of Psalm Tunes, Hymns, and Anthems, St. Louis, Missouri Historical Society, ISBN 1-8382982-54-5, XXXVII, 346 pp. Journal articles Campbell, Gavin James, Old Can Be Used Instead of New, Shape Note Singing and the Crisis of Modernity in the New South, 1880–1910, Journal of American Folklore 110, 169–88, doi, 10.2307/541811 investigates the internal debate among shape note singers at the end of the 19th century and beginning of the 20th. Lowndes, Irving. Britain, Alan P., The Easy Instructor, A History and Bibliography of the First Shape Note Tune Book, Journal of Research in Music Education I, 32. External links, Carlsberg, Jesse Perlman. An Introduction to Shape Note Hymnody. Emory University. Facilla homepage website of the Sacred Harp Musical Heritage Association, dedicated to sacred harp and note singing, Awake, My Soul about a documentary movie The Story of Sacred Harp and Shape Note Singing, Shape Note Historical Background article on the evolution of shape notes, the 8-note, 7-shape method article promoting the 7-shape method, shape note connection and music of Jeremiah Ingalls where you can hear a fine example of note singing, including the first run-through with the note syllables being sung, a shape note. Singing lesson. Smithsonian in your classroom. Smithsonian Institution. October 2000. With lesson plans for teachers. Sacred Harp Music. A Euro article on Sacred Harp from the Handbook of Texas Online, Mississippi's African American Shape Note Tradition. Article by Chiquita Walls, Pearl River South Singing Convention, Stamps. Baxter School of Gospel Music. A Euro school furthering the Stamps and Baxter tradition, UK Sacred Harp and Chapanote Singing. A Euro official UK site with events calendar, resources and contacts for all UK Chapanote groups, Sacred Harp and related shape note music resources. A Euro an extensive site of resources concerning Sacred Harp, other shape note music, gallery music, etc. Singing with solfa syllables. A Euro article about singing schools and shape notes, the shape of music. A Euro book on teaching small children chapanote singing. Where could I go but to the Lord Field recording from the Florida Folklife Collection, Art of the States, Shape Note Recordings, Sacred Harp Mass. Electronic sound files of songs from several 19th century chapanote songbooks using melody assistant software. 7 shape note sheet music. Open hymnal round notes converted to 7 shape notes. 7 shape note book. Cyber hymnal selection converted to 7 shape notes book. Public domain shape note tune books. 4 shape notation tune books on IMSLP, 7 shape notation tune books on IMSLP, The Methodist Harmonist, Aiken, Jesse B., The Christian Minstrel. Aiken, L.W., Crystal Gems for the Sabbath School. Auld, Alexander, The Ohio Harmonist. Alan D. Cudden, The Missouri Harmony, W. L. Chappell, The Western Lyre, New Edition, David Clayton and James Carroll, The Virginia Harmony, Ananias Davison, A Supplement to the Kentucky Harmony, Joseph Funk and Sons, The New Harmonia Sacra, a compilation of genuine church music, William Hauser, The Hesperian Harp, 1, The Christian Harp and Sabbath School Songster, 2, J. S. James, Union Harp and History of Songs, William Little and William Smith, The Easy Instructor, Part 2, Lowell Mason, Mason's Sacred Harp, John G. McCurry, The Social Harp, William Walker, The Southern Harmony, and Musical Companion. The Southern and Western Pocket Harmony, intended as an appendix to the Southern Harmony, B. F. White, The Sacred Harp, Wyeth's Repository of Sacred Music.